What's happening? It's the Reverend, ain't nothing but some more of it. So check this out. I know it's been a while. I've been busy getting some things together, but I am back. And the first thing that I want to touch on is this versus between Ja Rule and Fat Joe. So, coming off of now mind you, look, they said that this was the biggest verses that they've ever had. And I only think that it was that big because of what the Lox and Dipset did prior to this verses. They went so hard and had the world watching verses, and Jada Kiss was trending, and you had so many different things that happened in that verses that I think had anybody went next, it would have been the same outcome just due to the fact that people were just so amped up on the next one. So let's get into it. Fat Joe comes out to The Bridge Is Over because Ja Rule is from Queensbridge, the whole thing. Okay, Ja comes out to rapping to a rocky beat on a song I've never heard before. But I already knew that Ja would win this versus just off of his catalog alone. What a lot of people forget is Ja had hit after hit after hit. He held it down for like 2 years when he was like the people, each artist, like artists that really go out of here to like another dimension, they always had this red hot part in their career where they're just like the biggest. And at his peak, nobody was messing with Ja. Ja had all the hits. He was really doing his thing. Pre-50. I think that if just kept making his hits and kept on in his lane and didn't try to do the gangster records and didn't try to battle with 50 and do all of that, just stayed focused, he'd have been all right. But they were fighting the case with the feds and they were doing all this other stuff. But I think if he'd have just stayed focused on making those type of records, he'd be all right. Because those records still ring off to this day, as we're gonna get into about the verses. So Joe comes out, Joe does the Flo Joe, he does his first record, right? Ja comes back with the DMX record, okay? Then Joe comes back again with another record. So, I mean, I believe that, Ja has 17 number ones, 17. You can only do 20 songs on verses. I would have gave Joe them 17 number ones, back to back to back to back to back to back. Like, he'd have been dizzy. I'd have gave him 17 number ones. I wouldn't have tried to do no mixtape stuff. I wouldn't have tried to do no gangster feature records or whatever. I would have did none of that. I'd have gave him them 17 number ones back to back. So Joe brought out Remy Ma, which was a good move, but everybody knew she was coming out. Rim actually did an amazing job with Pun's, the Twins, the Deep Cover remake. She did an amazing job with that. And she looked amazing doing it. Joe held it down. I think that Joe was really trying. I think they should have just focused on the hits. But I think you get caught up in where you're from, which is New York, and you start doing those New York records that the New York alumni or, New York people would only know. And I think that would really gets people kind of, is because the rest of the world don't know those records. And Joe was kind of like, oh, this is real hip hop. And Ja was like, well, nigga, what do I do? So, but Ja got them records, bro. And I'm gonna tell you, I was in a club one night with DJ Shantae. Man, she did a whole Ja set And I was like, oh my God, like I remember these records and the club was rocking and you know what I'm saying? So those things, like Ja got heat rocks. And I think he should have just hit them like back to back, back to back, back to back with him. But then Ja brought out, but before he brought out Vita and Lil Mo, Joe got caught up in the moment and he was really just trying to push the narrative that, yeah, Ja got all these hits, but I put my team on. You know, I might not have as many hits as Ja, but I put my team on. Like Remy's rich, Khaled's rich, Cool and Dre's rich. Pun was the biggest artist in the game at one time. Like, he's rich. So he was just saying, like, hey man, I put my team on. Like, you the only one rich in your circle. You know what I'm saying? So Ashanti, of course, but basically I understand where he was going with it. He made some off-color comments. He called Lil Mo and Vita some dusty bitches in the back. And he said that they that you can find them bitches. You had to go get them out of the crack house. And I think Mo took offense to it because they were just talking. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just friendly banter back and forth. Like, we've said worse in conversations, but I think that Mo took offense to it because she did have an opioid addiction and she's still, you know, she's free of it right now, but she says she still takes it day by day. Like, she not out the woods, and that was like a trigger for her. So I understand, but Rim said that Joe apologized in her face. Then when they left, he apologized like twice, once on Twitter, once in her comments, because she, you know, posted it or whatever. But I understand that Vita said he apologized to us. He didn't even know, she didn't even know what he was apologizing for. So I get it. You know, when you get caught up in the moment, you say certain things and you just gotta, you know, if it offends anybody, then you just apologize and move on from it. But you can't dwell on whatever the situation was. You can't dwell on that. But anyway, as it gets down to the latter part, you bring out Vita, you bring out Lil Mo. Lil Mo did an amazing job. The vocals are still there, the pipes still work. Like, she sounds exactly like the record. You know, Vita came out, did her thing. Muscles in the stomach, look like she been doing 1,000,000 crunches. Like, she did her thing. Rim came out a couple times and she did her thing, looked amazing. Then he brought out Nelly. Then Technician is one of the best DJs ever. Like, I must say, the LOX DJ Technician is an amazing DJ. He's like one of the MVPs of the verses. Like, he really kills things and does an amazing job. Now, you have to realize that in the verses, you're supposed to, because your stock can go through the roof. If you haven't been getting shows, you haven't been getting any looks or anything like that, it's like a celebration of your career to remind people, yeah, I still do this. And in my day, they just sound old. Like, it sounds like really old. But in the peak of their career, like, I was the man. Like, let me remind y'all. It's basically like celebrating who you were and who you still are. And then you can start getting booked again. You can start, you know, that endorsement money, that show money, all that stuff can start rolling back in if you do it right. So I think that Ja did an amazing job. The energy was there. I just feel like some of those records, because he left a lot on the table. And I feel like he could have kept hitting them with the hits. Like when he came out and did Flojo, he should have came out and did his first big record. Like when Joey did Flojo, he should have came out and did his first big record. Like, the first time y'all ever seen me, I came out and this was what it was. Boom, he should have did that. But I just think that, you know, they was caught up in a moment like we friends and I don't want to do that. I ain't gonna lie, bro. If I was Joe, I'd have came out to Back Down by 50 Cent. Hey man, there's some verses like nigga, ain't it man, there's no holds barred. I'd have came out to Back Down. Like I would have went crazy up there. But it is what it is, man. I have Ja winning this thing by a landslide. I don't care what's going on with Kels right now. They both had two amazing records with Kels. I did my Kels record. You know what I'm saying? Like, Joe had the, we dug and rolling on dubs, pop up in the club, wildin' like what, got the Chris on pop, Henny you would know. Bro, Joe should have did that record. And then Josh should have did the, if it wasn't for the money, gonna do it, and all the things I've got. Bro, he should have did that, bro. I would have did that record. I did that. I don't care what nobody say. So they left some records on the table, man, where they could have, you know, took it to another level. But Ashanti looked amazing. She came out and did her thing. I didn't know that her first record she was ever on was the Pun record. And cause I remember that. I remember that record. She did a great job on that. That was her first record that Joe put her on. So a lot of people don't know the history of Ja and Joe. So I was happy to, I'm like just a student of the game, man. I love the music industry. I love music. So I was just happy to know the backstory about a lot of these things, like when Pun had passed away and Ja was at the service and he came up to Joe, and Joe was crying, and he was like, man, I'm sorry about your brother and all this. And like, he was like, man, he gave him, when they thought it was over for Joe, Joe said he was depressed. He gave him the record with Ashanti, so that What's Love Got to Do, which was a heat rock. You know, it's just a lot of behind the scenes type of thing, which was dope. And I wish that a lot of people gave Ja more respect, but I think they just disrespect him because of what happened between him and 50. But I think that we should give Ja his flowers and give him the respect that he deserves as one of the greats in music, because he did do an amazing job with that. So, like, subscribe, tell me who you think won the verses, comment below on what was your highlights of the verses. And Nelly, we saw you creep over there and get you a hug from Ashanti. They got that boy in a picture like this. Man, signing out.